Alright, just uploaded the last video about using sigils and some of the practical applications of those. And so what I want to do now is that I want to take a kind of a step back, and instead we're going to go on um, using more than one energy at the same time. Right? There are several ways you can go about this in a way that means you lose as little as possible. But the last video, though, is actually kind of important because it does talk about the importance of visualization. And just like daydreaming, if you don't put the energy behind the visualization, then it's not nearly as effective, right? So we're going to kind of use some of those same skills. We're going to do it with two, maybe three different types of energies. And so I'm going to talk about it a little bit, and then we'll go into a tabletop, so I don't have this thing on my face for, forever. Yeah. So, you can think of using multiple energies a couple of different ways, and it may change over time. Right? Let's think about a candle. We want to charge a candle, and we want to charge a candle with. Last time we used grounding energy to help calm down and maybe recenter one of our friends. But what if we wanted to use it for something else? Right? What if we wanted to use it for healing energy from a specific entity? What if I wanted to use it for Santa Muerta? But then I also want to use it for, well, I said Helios because that's what I would have done, but I'll say Leviathan. Okay, they both do healing. They both do it differently, and so what if I want to combine those two energies into something? In this case, we're going to do it with a candle, and then we'll talk about the order operations for that and benefiting our target, and how are we going to do that without losing too much energy. And we're going to introduce a kind of like a sealing skill, which is going to become really important later on, and actually in a lot of different ways, because it's kind of, the sealing skill is also a way to bind, right? To bind within. And so once you learn to do it and you start to get practice with it, and it becomes, I said practice again, I know, it becomes a little bit more second nature, then you can take it to that next level. And we'll have topics about that, but some of these other things need talked about first. And if you can do it with one energy, then you can do it with as many others as you want, as long as you're accessing them externally and you still have focus, because that focus is a limiting factor. And that's actually partially why practice is important, because just like when you drive a car, if you had to think about every little movement of the steering wheel and every time you had to move your foot on the pedal, instead of it becoming more habitual through practice, then you're not going to be able to focus for quite as long, because you're using up that finite resource, and it is a finite resource. So we need to practice these skills so it uses fewer of that finite resource, because once you can access external energy and you can do it in increasing amounts, then you're going to find that your limiting factor when you do rituals isn't going to be the energy, right? It's going to be the focus, the concentration, and your ability to move that amount of energy. And you're only going to be moving larger amounts of energies if you practice with smaller ones first, just like weights, right? So, I know I've said that a lot. I don't really want to beat it to death, but it absolutely is true. All right, back to task. So what we're going to do here is, well, I can demonstrate it with the crystal, and then I can demonstrate it with the candle, and then I'll demonstrate it with the crystal and a candle, because they have different things they can do with it. And it's going to seem kind of, there are reasons that I'm demonstrating these things, right? It's going to seem like they're similar, or that, hey, this is just one different step, but those steps have meaning later on, right? that I'm not really prepared to go into now. I'm trying to keep myself focused, which can be hard if I'm sure you've noticed. So let's go ahead and, all right, this crystal here, it's a very light piece of rose quartz. So the healing could make sense with this. You could do it for love too. You wouldn't necessarily need Leviathan for that. You could do it with Santa Marta on her own. But we're talking about using more than one energy. And so we are about to start using this piece. And I'll start to demonstrate, and I'll talk as I demonstrate. Partially so I can get this mask off my face. And so that there's less time between something useful for you that you can see and start putting pieces together. Because I'm usually better in that area, which I'm sure you've noticed. All right, welcome back. As you can see, we're now facing this. I don't really like to call this an altar, but I guess it really is. Maybe it's a working altar because it's not a standing altar. Like my stuff over there for Oceania is a standing altar, and the places where I keep these idols, I consider those specific spaces to be standing altars. But I guess this is a working altar. And I don't know why that bothers me. All right. Getting sidetracked. So what do we have? We have here is my idol to Leviathan. Yeah, there's some blood. See, it's not a real idol if I haven't blood on it, you can see some. All right, anyways. I saw that, and I normally don't associate dragons with him. Serpents, sure, but not necessarily dragons. But he was like, yeah. So, okay, cool. And here we have my Santa Marta idol, which I've seen in other rituals. Hasn't changed, although it probably needs dusted. It's been a while. Normally I'll take I have a little paintbrush that's all I use it for, is dusting and like brushing off like this sort of thing. All right, getting sidetracked already. Great sign. Okay, so we were talking about different types of energies, and we were talking about using more than one in a ritual, right? So we've got this little piece of very light rose quartz, almost heart-shaped. And so we wanted to put some healing energy into this. And so Leviathan's known for healing. He does it his way, and Santa Marta is known for healing, and she does it her way. Act like it's one way, but you know what I mean. They have their own ways of approaching things, and I've never had an issue with these two working together on goals that they absolutely agree on. Well, I haven't had it without goals they agreed on, but I've never had a problem with them. But they work pretty well together. So if you need a good pair that work differently, by all means, go for it. Because Leviathan does not quite feel demonic. Well, I don't think he's demonic at all, but you may disagree, and that's your prerogative, right? I feel what I feel. You're going to feel what you feel. Hey, it's okay. We both agree that he's a pretty useful guy to have around, or gal, depending on how he wants to show himself or herself. Then we have Santa Marta. I have a tendency to use like Santa Marta. I could use Saint Cyprian here. I have an idol for Saint Cyprian also. But I typically use Santa Marta, especially if it's somebody whose faith I know is compatible with her energies. So if I want something to not feel demonic or something like that, then I won't hesitate. Like Helios is one I use too, but I don't have an idol for Helios, and so it kind of makes it a little bit harder for this particular lesson. All right, I'm I'm sorry, I'm getting sidetracked, but I mean, it's useful information. So, all right. So we talked about feeling energy in the last video we did, right? And we talked about using visualization. And as we said, visualization is worthless without intent and energy put behind it, right? It's nothing more than a daydream, right? So how does that factor here? Well, what we're going to do is this is actually going to be a sort of petition. It's not written out, but we are going to ask to be able to take energy from these two idols with healing energy, and we are going to imprint it into this stone.
Okay. So now how you want to approach that is kind of up to you. Some people like really long liturgical passes. Some people like really flowing, really long, or at least really flowing, moving prose. And that is not me. I'm an energetic worker. I feel deeply for these two entities, and so that's literally what I'm going to use. Is I will place my hands on here like this, and I'll say, Lord Leviathan, I'm asking you to please send healing energy into this crystal that I might be able to use it to then heal a friend of mine or family member of mine. There's a family member I can do that, so let's just do that. I can heal a family member of mine who's going through a tough time right now. And I would ask if this also work congruently with other healing efforts that I've already done. If you are opposed to this, Lord Leviathan, then I apologize, and I guess there really isn't anything else to say about that, except if you do agree or if you don't, thank you for your time, Lord Leviathan. And what's going to happen right now is I'm going to kind of wait for a response. And right now I can feel an energy hitting my finger right here, which is kind of what I was looking for. And so I will literally take it, I will visualize it, but I'm taking this energy still stuck to my finger, right? Moving up, still stuck. We are creating a link to the stone. And now we are going to, you could think of it as like a wiping off, if that's easier for you to do it. Wipe it off on there, so then it starts charging the stone. Okay? And now once we have that charge started, we're going to go to the other type, if she's willing. And I kind of already know she is. Santa Muerta, I thank you for the help you've given me in the past. And I ask that you please allow me to send some healing energy into this crystal for the purpose of healing a family member of mine, and ask that any such efforts will be congruous with healing efforts that have already been done. I ask this of you, please, Santa Muerta, and thank you. So now I'll wait, and if I feel the attachment, I will take it. I will add that to it. I will, if you need to, just wipe it off so you leave the attachment there. And then your job right now is to feel when the energies from these two things kind of stop, right? Because they can flood it if they want to. But, okay, Leviathan's has already stopped. All right, Santa Muerta's finally stopped. So the energy is now in here. Well, what am I going to do with that, right? All right. So what I will do now is this energy is in this candle. This rose quartz. So I will stick this candle over the rose quartz like this, right? Now here, we're going to use our energy abilities, right? And we'll think, you can go ahead and program the intent. You're telling, like with that fireball, ice ball, remember? You're going to send your intent into the stone to then push that energy into this candle. And if you know what the stone felt like from sensing energy, just like sensing the plant, right? Then you can tell when it's pretty much done, pretty much gone. Let's force the rest in. If you need to use hand movements like this or something, don't be ashamed of that. That's good. You can do it. Okay. So now this candle has been charged with the energy that I asked for, and I can burn it after I imprint. Now when I asked for their energy, I did ask for a specific family member of mine once I decided to take that route. And so even though I did that, I still have to imprint this energy for the target. And the target in this case is a beneficial target, and it's going to be for my loved one. And I will do that here in a bit, right? Because what I want to demonstrate, though, is there are other ways to do it. Here we go. I was going to use a couple different sigils on here, but we have them right here. So I guess we can actually demonstrate an additional technique. Because one thing that I would do, because we talked about opening the sigil, we talked about tracing it like this. We could trace it with a wand, we could trace it with our hands. If you want to do a sword hand or something and trace it in the air, however you want to do it, right? There's another thing that you could do. And if you are to, I said focus on energy, right? Send your energy down into this sigil right here and light it up to activate it like a Christmas tree almost, right? And that can act as a calling. All right. Now, if you just put your finger over it and say, pretty please, nothing's going to happen, right? You have to send the energy down it, which is why we've been talking a little bit about moving energy from here to there, how to do it. You can just say to do it, but if you want to, you can charge your finger with light, with whatever, however you want to do it, with just yourself. Just imagine it going down in here and then lighting it up, activating it. And you have to put the intent in to use it as like a calling card. And this will get Orias's attention. Okay. Now, you should probably want Orias's attention before you do it. You know what I mean? So we will do that, and we will do that first to get his attention. Okay. And now we will do this for Belial's as well. And what are we going to do? Well, here, let me activate it first. All right. So what we're going to do is we have a spirit with dignities and transforms, cis men, but people, persons, however you want to think about that. We have something about finding favor with friends and foes. Now here we have causing ones to be liked and promotions in high offices, right? Now these are two separate sigils. And we will do the same thing. All right. Let me think about which candle is going to be good. Black candle is going to be good, you say? Okay, I shall do this. Okay, black candle. I have no idea who I'm doing this for, but I'm going to do it first and add the target next. And I will actually, I'll make sure that that's okay with them first. If it's not, I'll literally disperse the energy. But so I already got their attention. Sending it down again. It's already lit. It's already open. You can already feel it. You know what? I might as well just do this for me because they'll agree to that. All right. I don't know that it's going to go anywhere, but that's fine. All right. So what I'll do is I will literally feel the energy underneath this thing, underneath my finger, this open sigil right here. It's going to act almost like a gate, a portal, a source of energy. And then I'm going to say, Lord Orias, I ask you to please send the favor of dignities, friends and foes, and help in the area of personal promotion and self-betterment. I will be using a link from this sigil to this candle and ask that you put the energy in needed, and this will be for myself. Okay. Now, if you're, you should kind of keep yourself open a little bit to see if you get an approval or not. Because if you get an approval, then yeah, you can go ahead and do it. And if you don't, then they just want to have the energy. Right? Enforcing it is not a part of this game, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the energy from that. I'm going to attach it to my finger. I'm going to load it over, and literally, just like wiping on that, it's like wiping on the crystal, I'm going to now let it flood into this candle. And Orias will put whatever energy he feels is needed in there. My job at that point is just to feel when that connection is done. Because if I cut it off halfway, then it's kind of like a slap in the face. And all of these entities will get incense in the end as payment for these things. Right? Now, I typically bleed on my candles. And when I bleed on my candles, I'm bleeding on them as an offering. Not because it's going to affect the working itself. Right? It's not. Well, I mean, it could. But I'm trusting that they are putting in what is needed into the candles. Therefore, the blood would be an offering from me to those that help with the candle. So So that way I don't have to make a specific offering to one entity and another if an entity doesn't agree. Because I can have like 12 candles over here, right? And all these other overlapping things, I've got photos of it from where I'm working on, say, world events, where I'll have, 12, 16 candles going, overlapping fields and things like that. And it's not much different than this. So here I've already opened it as like a calling card to Lord Belial. It's almost like King Belial. Doesn't matter to me. We're good. I've worked with Belial quite a bit. So now I will tell him, Lord Belial, I'm asking you to please put in energy into this candle for myself that will both help me professionally and personally in my charisma and in their attitudes towards me, because those are different things. I will be taking energy from the sigil if you agree, and I'll be putting into this candle, and I thank you for your contribution to this. Now I will wait, and once I feel the energy sticking to my finger, I will take it, and I will wipe it onto this candle, leave the connection there. That's part of the visualization that's going on. You set the candle on there, right? All right, so now we wait. We know Orias is already done. All right, and Belial's is trickling in because it's at the end. And there we go. Okay. So they've both added this candle. Now, if I want to, normally we would burn these candles right away, right? This one's for me. That's for my family member. If you remember, I still have to imprint them onto this candle. This, I stated it was for me when I made the offer, when I made the request, right? So if I don't want to use this right away, I will go ahead and take it in my hand. Doesn't matter. 1, 2 hands. Doesn't matter. And just like if you were to put a sideball, we aren't doing that. What we are doing is we're going to put a little bit of energy as a coating on the outside of this, and we're using our visualization for that, right? Coat the candle, right? And then seal it up, almost like it's you're twisting the top on a bag, like a bread bag. The visualizations help, but they aren't necessarily the mechanism, right? The rest of you is pretty much is what's doing this. Kind of like the driving the car. You say, "Oh, I need to go that way," and your body responds. It's the same. It's the same way here. So what we do is we put just a little bit of energy over the outside, right? And we take, if you need to do it like this to twist it off, then do so, and then call it good. Another thing you can do is like a shrink wrap, right? I know it sounds dumb, but you can do a shrink wrap with this, because again, the visualization that you give, you can use several, and you just kind of find the ones that work best for you. So if I were to shrink wrap this one, I would put like a load of energy on the outside. It doesn't take a lot. We're just coating the candle. Kind of like if you're coating a candle with oil, it doesn't take a lot of oil, right? Because oil slides all over the place. Same thing with the energy. And we compress around the outside like a protective layer, right? If you need to grip it to do that, then go ahead and do that, okay? And that energy layer will last a while. Now, how long, I can't tell you, okay? I have stones I've sealed over here. And what I've done is I've sealed an anchoring point on them for like portals and things like that I've not had to reseal in over a year, right? It didn't take a tremendous amount of energy for me to do that. It doesn't have to. Because anytime I bleed onto it, the purpose of like this gauge or the seal, I also renew that coating. So this is going to last quite a while, and the energies will stay in it for quite a while. You can always come over and kind of check, do you feel that little coating? Because it's your coating. It should feel different than the rest of the energy that's in there, because that came from Orias and Belial, right? In this case. So you're only having to feel for your energy that you put on the outside. And that's kind of important to know. Their energy will stay in there for quite a while. I can't give you numbers. I mean, we all love them, but normally I'm not going to request something and then not do it in the immediate future. So if I had to leave this for like a week or two, I probably would wait to do the ritual personally. But I've put energy into crystals before, and it absolutely keeps a while. Okay, so over here, for example, all right. So this stone right here was an open gate for Tiamat. Not just Tiamat, the entity whose idol is right here. Okay, it's beautiful, especially with the blood on it. But for her energies, a gate for those energies, right? And so occasionally I would just go and bleed on it, and it would renew the gate. For those that follow my Shadownomicon stuff, I do the same approach for the portals for Shadownomicon. So the same things that I just told you about with this candle, I actively use because it works, right? Now they're a little bit more complex than that, but these same procedures, you can even do this and then make an offering to Belial if you were just using his energy to practice, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend doing it. There are a whole bunch of stuff you can do to practice on that. But if you really need, to practice on something and you don't have situations that you can, then that would work. So now I had this sigil open here, and what I intended to do was I can take the sigil, I can open it, and I can set the candle on here once for his stuff. Wait till I think it's done, or I can say, hey, I will come pick this up overnight, come back the next day. I have another sigil of another entity I want to add to that mix, say Santa Marta. And then if she had a sigil, then I could put it on that sigil, say, hey, I will come back and pick it up. Now, what I will do for Leviathan's energy, if I were doing that, is the same sealing sort of thing I would do here, right? I would seal it on the outside, though, and then she is going to know. She's going to know what that's for. You're not going to stop it, right? She will know it's to seal in his energy. And so it's not going to affect her energy because you already said, hey, I want to seal in, Leviathan's energy. And so hers is going to go there. And then I would take this and I would, if I were doing it that way, I would pull it off her sigil, which she doesn't really have. There are some, but anyways, I could seal it up just like that, put a little thin coating over it. If I need to turn the candle to make myself feel better, like I coated the whole thing. If you need hand gestures or something, yeah, do what you need to do, right? And then seal it onto there so it's like a protective coating over it. And if you need to reinforce that, then use visualization with energy to reinforce that. It doesn't take a tremendous amount of energy to do it, right? It does take a little bit of practice, but it doesn't take a lot of energy. So, and nowhere in here have I said anything about emotion, right? Different topic, I guess, but all right. So I'm not going to bleed all over these things tonight. Well, I will tonight, but I'm not going to do it for the video tonight. And I hope this was, I wanted to do it with like natural things, but I was like, oh crap. How would I demonstrate that to them? That, oh yes, I have an active connection. Because there is another way you can do this, right? All right, say I want to designate this part of my palm right here. Now, normally I would just use myself, but here we'll just use this part of my palm, and it's black from this candle, right? All right. Bam, designated. I almost like a sigil. You draw the circle on here, and the circle is to define the area here. It's not to do anything else. I go ahead and charge this area, and it's going to act as a collection point. I've set that intent, and if you need to slap it to make it real, just go ahead and do it. It works. And so what can I do then? Well, I can go ahead and turn it down to, see, the magma down there to start collecting fire energy, right? And we're going to collect it right here in this area. And then what do I do? Well, I collect as much as I need to at first. Once you're comfortable enough, I may want to connect to the earth. Why would I connect to the earth? Because I want to take part of tectonic energy instead. So I would reach down, visualizing, reach down with my intent, go to the plates, grab the plates. This is actually part of Pele's earthquake, which is not published, but it's part of our grimoire. And then I will take that connection and I can slap that onto there too. And as long as I can keep those two lines open, which I will do with intent and visualization, because I've practiced pulling those type of energies, right, and connecting to them, practiced, right, I can go ahead and start collecting that type of energy right there, right? Now, what am I going to do with it in this case? Well, I'm probably not going to do much of anything with it in this case. But that's the other way that you could do it. I could take it, I could put this crystal there, and I could shove it into that crystal as I collect it. And then I could sit and monitor this crystal, feeling the energy difference, like if I were connected to a plant, connecting to a tree, feeling the energy difference as the energy comes and goes. In this case, it's coming, and then know about where this is at. Now, how much you need is a different scenario, right? It's going to kind of depend on your personal workings and how you do them and how you feel them, okay? But this is what you can do. You can first make a connection to the one, start that connection. Same way we did here, right? With a candle. You can do it here. You can do it to yourself. I wouldn't think much of making 4 open connections since I access energy that way directly and literally connect them to myself. And then, let me do it. Let's just say, all right, death. Okay, death, fire, earth, and nature. Right? And then telling it to go to this palm, and then it'll start to coalesce. Now, usually, I also, I do other things with it that will come later. But it takes that connection with your mind that I talked about earlier, like, oh, I want fire, I want this. Make the connections and let them come, and you're curating the connections at that point. So there are absolute benefits of doing that way. Now, I can sit here with the 4 in this hand and the 2 in this one and let them pull, because all I have to do is curate the connections because I've done it enough, right? Now here, I'm going to send them back because I'm not going to be able to use them for this scenario, but I could. Okay, if I wanted to access different types of decaying energy, right? Well, I've got Azjahi from the book The Necromancer. Through herself or through the Druj Nasu, I could access them both. She could be doing it through the vampiric angle. They will do it from the decaying angle. I could access Beelzebub at the same time and access his method of decay that way. I could access Abaddon and then be pulling his destructive decaying energy in there too, right? I could access Hell and her death energy in there because she has a decaying form of it too. And I could be combining all of these things into a candle that has some special friend's name on it, right? As the recipient of, just like I did with these candles here, right? That's where you can go with this. And you can do it one by one. It'll take you a while, but you can still do it. Just make sure you seal the candle off. If you get tired, just seal the candle off and then come back to it the next day. You can, right? Now, I can't say the energy lasts longer in crystals than it does in candles, at least from my experience. I don't think most people would disagree with that, but I don't just take things, I don't just believe something because, people have said that for 100 or 1,000 years. That doesn't necessarily mean anything to me. I mean, people still think that Christianity is the only real religion, and they've thought that for 2,000 years. So just because somebody said something 500 years ago, well, that doesn't necessarily mean anything to me, right? But what we are doing here, we've talked about, let's just do a recap because we're about to stop. We've talked about the different ways of accessing, hooking into energy. We've talked about different ways of accessing energy and putting it into something, in this case, a candle. We talked about the ways that this could be useful later on. We were talking about the decay, the different types of decay that we could then collate into a candle for our special friend that has that I guess needs a little more burden on their system than they currently have. I mean, it's good of us to consider that, isn't it? All right, so I think we're going to stop there. I think I've made the point.